Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast. Today, we have a very special episode for you all this evening. Today, we have some of the male members of the L7C gathering together talking about mental health. This podcast was spurred on by actually the wrestling expert, Jacob Mason, who is here. How are you doing today, sir?
Dude, I'm great, man. How are you, buddy?
I am doing well, thank you. So this was Jacob's idea, so he asked for other members of the L7C to be on. So we do have some other members. We got a couple, basically the OGs in many different departments. We got the captain, Byron Mitchell. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, doing good, man. Definitely excited to talk about mental health.
We got the anime expert, Mr. Cedric Ware. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing well, man. How are you?
I am doing well, man. I'm doing well. Good to hear from you. And then we got the Dragon Ball expert, Mr. Mitch Oso. How are you doing today, sir?
As always, doing fantastic. Great to be on something different. Not the end of your podcast.
that is true. This combination of people have not been on any podcast together besides end of year podcast. So let's just get right into this, Jacob. What spurred you to want to talk about this?
So it's June's coming up here. We're recording. It's right at the end of May. June is Men's Mental Health Month, and I figured why not? Let's talk about men's mental health. Let's get the boys up on here, get everyone's opinion on stuff. We have a really good collective of guys here. We have married guys, we have fathers, we have single guys, we have divorcees, and of course we have a lawyer. So yeah, why not? Let's run it. Let's see what happens. Let me pull up my notes here. So first off, shout out to everyone for jumping on this podcast. Wow, this is a horrible format that I typed this in. Anyways, so yeah, let's break down men's mental health. Statistics wise, which I know is a shocker to Mitch. I did looked up anything statistically that he texted me. Men's mental health, nearly men account for 75 to 80% of all suicide deaths. Less than 45% of men with diagnosed mental health receive any help. Males account for 80%. Suicide deaths, we've already been over that. Yeah, I guess we should probably put out a warning. Yeah, we're going to be talking about like the dark stuff here too. So trigger warning, I guess. But yeah, so depression, over 6 million men in the U.S. experience depression annually, but it frequently goes undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. Anxiety, roughly 1 in 10 men experience symptoms of anxiety and or panic disorders. So really, by the end of this podcast, like, no, we're not going to be able to like talk about everything, but what do men need? What do men want? What burdens us the most? What has our generation done compared to past generations? And why is it that men want to off themselves way more than women? Anybody want to talk about it first?
This is your pod, man. You can direct it to you can direct a question to someone. You can keep it open for them. It's on you.
All right, well, so we have, let's see, Martin and Mitch. You guys are the fathers of everyone here.
That's news to me. Shit.
You're the only ones that have children right now. How about that?
There we go. Excuse me, sir.
It's my first time directing a podcast. Thank you very much. All right, so being as you two are dads, what is something that you guys deal with? Because you guys obviously are the heads of household, so to speak. What stuff that you guys deal with from everyday normal guy stuff, and then you have to throw into the I'm also a dad. Like, you guys don't get the time for yourselves that like the rest of us do on here.
Mitch, you want to
So
go
like,
first?
I'm trying to form an opinion or thought real quick on that one. If you got something, go for it. If not, I'll conjure up something here in about 10 seconds as I absorb that.
Okay. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just you're always thinking in the back of your mind, are you doing enough? Are you doing enough to be there for your family? And then when you start like thinking that you aren't doing enough, then you start to panic because you're thinking you should do more, you should be making more money this, or you should be doing this around this house or whatever. And then you start to like, you start to panic a little bit. So I feel like that's just something that a lot of dads deal with, especially like you just said, most dads are like the head of the household, the leader of the house. So it's like that added responsibility of being the leader and protector and doing all that jazz, and then dealing with your own stuff, and then you don't think of your own stuff because you're thinking about your family stuff, and then sometimes it just implodes for like most dads.
Yeah, it's just an extra layer just to, think about whenever it comes to parenthood. Because like what Martin said, regardless, even if you have kids or not, like everyone's thinking about like money for an example.
Hmm.
Like, how are you going to pay for your apartment, your house, your food, even just for yourself? And then it's just an added layer whenever you got just little ones who, they obviously just completely depend on your success. So there's that added, pressure to it. And then um, so then navigating your way through that, or then just finding time then to um, balance your relationship with whether it be your spouse, baby mama, whatever it might be, or girlfriends. Look at you chuckling, you little shit. Anyways, no, but or even your friends. It's not even just a significant other, because then if I focus all of my attention on my kids, um, somewhere down the line, something's going to get neglected. Now, whether that be friends, spouse, or even myself. Like, do I get personal time to watch a show that I've heard and want to, check up on, or a game, or even if I want to, somehow educate myself for a job opportunity. It's just trying to balance all that can put a strain on you that you just got to navigate your way through it, and it can be stressful. It can really weigh on you. So,
uh, yeah. So I mean, like from a single divorcee standpoint, like, yeah. No, Mitch, I think you hit it on the head with the money. I think at the end of the day, that's all. That's always the biggest factor. Is always money. Um, I mean, that's life.
money
Uh,
doesn't buy happiness, but money does prevent a certain level of stress. Like,
Hmm.
100%.
there's plenty of rich people that they got a lot of freaking problems, but knowing that they won't lose the roof over their head, yeah, that's a level of like peacefulness that I would love to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Byron, Cedric, do you guys have anything to add? I mean, I know you guys aren't dads like me, but like nieces, anything along those lines that you want to chip in on or chirp in on?
Yeah, I'm not in the dad community yet, one day, hopefully. But just as a single man, there are still stressors like everyone has said, money, job, like sometimes you just get bogged down at work and just want to escape the world for a little bit, but then you're like, okay, if I'm spending too much time, like everyone said, with myself, like am I spending time with family? Am I spending time with friends? Am I giving them the attention that they deserve? So money is, like I said, a big factor, but just jobs in general. And life could just get you down when you least expect it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cedric?
I think everyone kind of just has echoed a lot of stuff that I would say. So I have nothing really new to add. It would just be me just essentially repeating what everyone's kind of been hitting on already.
What a lawyer answer. That was really well said. Thank you very much. All right, so I know like a lot of millennials always end up hearing the shit, especially from the boomers and everything, but I will say this much: as a generation, I think a lot of our generation does suck. But that being said, if there's one thing I think our generation is absolutely nailed on the head, is mental health. Looking back, mental health was not a thing. Take veterans for example. It was always, they come back from war and it's just, oh, you got shell shock, you'd be fine, whatever. And now, we have we're able to diagnose it. You have PTSD, you have mental issues, you have this, you have that. So I mean, I don't know. I think our generation has done really well with that compared to past generations. I mean, like I can look back on my family, especially on one side, and be like, holy hell, we had so many mental health issues that went completely undiagnosed for generations. And then, like, because I dealt with my own stuff, especially in the past few years, I went through a divorce, and I was like, oh, hey, I might actually be depressed. Why am I sleeping so much and I'm still constantly tired, And you go to the doctor and they're like, oh, yeah, you definitely have, depression, anxiety. Oh, that's awesome. Great. What do we do about that? And then you go through the process and I think it really sucks because it's hard, if you have someone who's never been through this stuff, trying to explain to them. And I used to be one of those people too. That's like, dude, like, quit being a pussy, get up, put your boots on, go to work, you'll be fine, And then, because it sucks, when you're just laying around, you're like, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel like shit? I have, nothing necessarily wrong, but man, I feel horrendously bad. And it sucks trying to explain that to someone like, oh, well, why do you feel this way? I don't know. I just feel like absolute crap right now. And then it also sucks that you go to the doctor, there's not a single cure-all for anything. There's a million different antidepressants. There's a million different anxiety meds. There's a million different this, a million different that. And what works for one person does not work for the next person. So you have to go through those trials and tribulations of trying to figure out what exactly works and what exactly doesn't. Because I know I got lucky. It only took me like 3 months to kind of get my shit dialed in. I know some people, it takes years trying this, trying that, up this dosage, down this dosage, try whatever, and it all sucks, But also, our generation is really cool about, like this podcast, for example, just talking about it. Like, hey, this is a thing. It sucks, but this is part of life.
I think our generation, I think the one thing that we benefit from, that like even the older generation they cannot, is the fact that we can do stuff like this. We can have podcasts, we can sit here, talk to each other, people can spread the word and make this kind of like, this kind of thing known to, the public, to the masses, to others. Like thinking back, let's just say the 80s, before the internet actually like took off. I mean, if you think about it, if back then there was not like this sort of mass communication with the rest of the world, so people couldn't just easily share their stories. So I've always kind of pondered, did everyone who have either a mental illness, a depression, or they just felt down, they get that feeling that they're alone. So then when they start feeling that they're alone, they're not able to, relate to anyone. They're not able to get any of the help or the advice or whatever the next steps for their journey towards, as you said, getting dialed back in per se. So I think that was part of the reason why it wasn't talked about or it wasn't taken seriously is because the voices that were yelling from the rooftops, they just weren't loud enough. But then once you're able to, communicate better with everyone, both people you know and don't know, I think that's what has helped our generation start getting this ball rolling of, hey, there's a lot of people who have this like issue, and everybody who is older than our generation has neglected it, both whether they did it on purpose or it just was just a product of the times. So
I agree with that
Could-
absolutely. Because I mean, like access to information has definitely been a growth with our generation in particular. I'll say also access to resources. I mean, mental health diagnoses and treatment processes where you go to a doctor, you can get a prescription and is covered by your health insurance. It's something that's more aligned with what our generation has been bringing, which is a big stopgate for a lot of individuals in seeking help because they can't afford it. They can't pay for the medication. They can't pay for the like to go to see the doctor. They just can't afford it. And a lot of times when you can't afford those things, you just start to self-medicate, which is another avenue with a lot of realizing if you have mental health issues that are going on, you may think, oh, it's because I drink and I drink a lot. I may be an alcoholic. Oh, I have alcoholism. Well, it's a diagnosis from a controlled substance. You still don't understand once you try to treat that you still have those mental health issues underlying things that you have to approach and have to kind of work your way through. And it takes a lot of individuals myriad different at times, like Jake was saying, like you can to get that balance to find even with the medication, it could take months on months on months. You can go through different doctors, but another thing is when the medication isn't working, what do most, especially the older generation, when it's not working, oh, this crap is ridiculous. Like, I don't need this. It's not even working. This is a waste of money. It's a sham. It's whatever. It was like an old generational thought. Unfortunately, a lot of people were like, oh, the medication isn't working. Maybe I actually don't have this problem. And then they stop taking the medication. They stop actually going to get treatment. They stop actually reaching out for resources, and they start going back to what that self-medicating and trying to handle it themselves and continue to spiral. I love that our generation has kind of opened its arms in the discussion, like, hey, we can have this conversation. We can have this conversation. If you're looking for the resources, if you're looking for help, let us try to help direct you. Let's try to give you the information you need to be aware of what those symptoms look like so you can start asking for the help, start looking for the help rather than think that you have to handle this all on your own. Because a lot of the older generation in their mind are like, you don't talk about your problems that's going on. It's more very privatized because the minute you talk about it, you don't want to be the talk of the town. Oh, so and so has depression. So and so may kill themselves. There is that like fear of embarrassment in previous generations that, oh, I'm going to become a laughing stock, or I'm going to embarrass my family. I'm going to embarrass my parent, my family, and all my name. I can't have that kind of demerit next to me or associated to me. So we just have to keep the persona, keep the image that we are okay, that we are fine, that everything's all right. And I think that's very different nowadays. I see it even more like being more vocal. I mean, even younger generations, I think this is from the influence of our generation of be vocal. Tell like no one can know that something is wrong until you tell them something is wrong. And so I just love that the fact that our generation is willing to have that conversation, is open to that discussion and that true work of like, while it may be sometimes an uncomfortable conversation to have, you still are willing to have it.
Yeah, just with the older generation, and even some of our generation, we grew up saying, "Oh, men are supposed to be strong all the time." Like if you talk about it, you're showing signs of weakness, and like Cedric said, like no one wants to show signs of weakness in that older generation. So like a lot of it was swept under the rug because no one wanted that stigma. It was like, "Oh, he's weak because he's talking about his problems. He just needs to grow up and be a man." So with our generation, we're like, oh, screw all that, man. We're going to talk about our mental health and we're going to get better because, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, about 80% of suicide deaths are among men, and that's a lot. That's staggering because a lot of it is just hey, sweep it on the wrong rug, just be a man and just power through it. And sometimes you need to talk about it. Sometimes you just can't power through it. You need to talk about it with a friend or need to talk about it with a therapist or a loved one just to get it out in the open and get to those next steps.
I think you both just absolutely killed it on that. I think I could not have said it better. Cedric, you saying like you don't want to, I'm paraphrasing here, of course. You saying like you don't want to disappoint, like your parents, or you don't want to make anyone, think anything type deal stuff. And I think Mitch can relate to this with me, both growing up in a very small town. Like, yeah, because once word gets out, it spreads like wildfire. And then like is what it is. Like, I don't know if it would be easier in a big city, especially back in the day compared to now. But I feel like that's another factor is, being concerned with, reputations, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, Jacob. Bad gas travels fast in a small town.
I mean, Jacob was saying that with you and Mitch relating to the small town aspect. I mean, I guess from the me, Byron, and Cedric aspect, we can relate from the African American community standpoint. Because I can tell you right now, as smart as my parents are, they don't believe in mental health. Like, that is not something their generation or any of that like talked about with that, because like they would say they didn't have a choice to believe in that. They still had to go to work and still of that nature. So that's still a super big thing in that community as well.
Yeah, because I rarely remember talking about mental health like when I was growing up. Like we touched on it a little bit, but we didn't go into depth of like how to get help because
Oh, sorry.
we're taught to be strong.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's something that every person, whatever is in your community, right? Because the community isn't necessarily just where you live, where you're from. It's who you know and who you kind of interact with, and whose opinions, honestly, in your world mean more to you. Because Joe Schmo on the street, you may not care if he knows whether or not you have depression because you don't know Joe Schmo. You're not going to interact with Joe Schmo. However, like I'll take it even a step further. You go about like people who go to church communities, because growing up in the church, like you hear things. People still gossip because again, it's a collective of people. People gossip about stuff, as whether it's good, bad, what have you. People still say things, and sometimes some people don't have, I guess, your feelings in mind when they are discussing things about you. They may keep that in the back of their mind, like, oh, well, we're just talking about it. Like, so and so almost killed himself the other week. Like, this is probably like, and they may be, while this may sound like callous, they may not be intentionally trying to make it sound that way, but also the thing is like you don't want to ever be that person, because that's the biggest part about seeking help. Like no one wants to be that person that's talked about. No one wants to be that person that everyone is like whispering of, because that creates and encourages another sentiment of anxiety. Mm-hmm. Where you're constantly walking around and you're like, oh, are these people thinking about me? What are they talking about me? Are they talking about me? Do they know? Do they know what's going on with me? Like, are they judging me? And it just creates a place where you feel safe, because again, we feel safe in our communities. Those are the people we interact with. It turns that into more of a toxic kind of feeling, and then you have to start working with, do you start to detach from that community, detach from those things to then take care of yourself, treat yourself, to then question like, do I need to reintroduce myself back into these things? Because again, people notice absences. So when people are gone from something, like, well, I wonder why so-and-so left. Why haven't we seen so-and-so in a long time? It's just a lot of moving pieces for each individual person to try to kind of handle, and it can be very burdensome.
And the church community thing, like, yeah, I feel like it's changed a lot since back in the day. At least that's my personal, like, what I've dealt with. Like, because I make no burdens about, hey, I went through my whole spiel of depression. I went through my whole spiel of anxiety. I mean, that part doesn't bother me because I would hope that someone else who's dealing with that stuff, with me being open about it, someone would want to come talk to me. Because when I went through all my stuff, I kind of hunkered down and just kind of, I'll just do me. And, it worked and didn't work. The weird thing about men and mental health is I feel like everything is a fine line.
Yeah.
Because like Byron said, like men have to be strong, which I agree with. Men have to be strong at the end of the day. That doesn't mean you also can't be vulnerable and be like, hey, I'm fucked up. I got problems. Because until you address those problems, you can't be as strong as you need to be or as strong as you want to be. You need to have those conversations. You need to be able to have a couple tight-knit people that you can talk with. And if you don't have that, go talk to a therapist. Go talk to your doctor. There's HIPAA laws for a reason. Because I know for me, going through the beginning stages of all that, I'm sure most of the listeners know or would have already assumed because I'm a white guy who lives in a trailer park. I love my firearms. Absolutely love them. And I was like, oh no, like if I talk about this, like, am I going to get red flagged, this, that, and the other? It's like, no, absolutely not. No, that's not how this works. So, like, because I know a lot of people in, per se, the 2A community don't like talking about this because they're scared that, oh man, now I'm going to get labeled this, that, and the other. It's like, no, you're not, dude. You're fine. You're fine. Just talk about it. It's all good at the end of the day.
I just want to touch on that thing you said about vulnerability, because a lot of men see being vulnerable as being weak and not being strong. And I think if we could change that in men, a lot of more men would get help. Like being vulnerable, it's okay to be vulnerable. Sometimes you just need to be vulnerable. You need to open up to someone, get it out. Because sometimes if you don't get it out, things could happen. Again, the suicide rate. Because we're not talking about it. We're not being vulnerable to the people we need to be vulnerable to.
All right, so here's I mean, we kind of talked about like stigmas and stuff like that. So I did learn this in all of my statistics searchings. Demographically, older white men have the highest rate of suicide of everybody, which kind of blew my mind because it was like, I think it was like 75 plus. The rates of suicide were so high. And I was like, why is that? And the only thing I could think of, and this is just me spitballing, just throwing out the idea there, is how many people are close to death and are like, nah, I ain't going to the nursing home, which some people agree with, some people don't. I can understand. My old job, I used to have to go to nursing homes all the time, and I absolutely hate it. It was just the most depressing thing ever. Like, no, I don't want to spend time there. But you also, I think another factor is the veteran status, because older guys, obviously, the majority of them, I would say, are veterans. And that stigma of what's mental health, what's shell shock, quote unquote, compared to now. How many of those guys have just went all those years living with that stuff, not talking about it? It just becomes too much at the end, and they just off themselves. I mean, veteran statistics, it's 22 veterans a day commit suicide. That's an insane number. Do we have anyone who's a veteran in the podcast?
Me? Your homeboy, bro. Now, if you're saying a war veteran, like, you know, like they served on a tour.
Yeah,
No.
I'm sorry, Mitch. I'm including you, excluding you in there.
Well, Chuck is still in the service, so.
Forgot about Chuck. Chuck would have been good to have on here.
Oh,
But yeah. Also, so there's a gender gap. Men obviously are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. Why do you guys think that is?
Just
You
like
know,
we've talked
get it.
about, men sometimes just don't like to talk about things. They bottle things up, so sometimes the pressure gets too much, and they think the only way to ease the pain is to commit suicide.
I would also say too, if like I'm pretty sure because I was actually just in a trainee talking about that statistic with men, because most of the men who do with that gap, that's through gunshot most of the time, and most ladies are not shooting themselves in the head. Like it's just. But I've learned that in a mental health training just a couple weeks ago, so I know that plays a factor with it, and like we've already said, like they seek out help more than men do, and killing yourself is very violent, especially the easiest ways to go. But there was something I actually wanted to say about the ladies, and because you guys said about it earlier, I would also say too with the girls too, especially now in this generation where people talk about like they want, what's the term, emotionally intelligent men. I think that's the term. But then, as soon as a guy starts talking about his feelings, they're saying like, "Oh, I don't. This guy's crying too much. I want a real man."
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? That is a huge problem because again, like, I mean, shoot, for me, I mean, like, if I'm telling you something and then you completely like close off, and I'm just like, "Oh well, I'm never telling you shit again." Like, that's just. And I feel like that's the thing for most guys. Like if you're with a girl or whatever partner, but in this case we're using girls example, and you're saying like with Jacob said, "Hey man, I'm fucked up. Like I just had this happen. I just had a nasty breakup. This and that. Like I'm going through. I just need a little break. Yada yada." And then she's just like, "Oh sure." And then she's subtweeting you or texting her friends on the side saying how big a pussy you are.
Yeah.
And that leads some people off of themselves. That's the truth. And I, oh my god, I really don't want to agree with this person to stay with this, but if there's one thing I do agree with Andrew Tate is women don't care about men's mental health until they say they care about it until it's in their lives, and then sometimes they don't care about it.
Yeah. That's that
Thanks.
double-edged sword. Like you're talking about, like, oh, they want an emotionally stable man or emotionally available man, and then like, okay, so let me talk about my problems, and then they're like, oh, well, no, I didn't want you to be that emotionally available or that emotionally intelligent. So it's like,
Oh,
if I say something, I'm getting criticized for saying something, but if I don't say something, then I'm criticized for not saying something. So like,
Yep.
where's that happy medium? Where's that middle ground that we can both agree, like, hey, I have some stuff I need to work on. I need to get off my chest for
Yep.
it to be okay for you to still want me at the end of the day.
Yep.
see, and it's crazy here because according to, I believe this is from the World Health Organization, so women are more likely to attempt suicide in the US. For example, adult women in the US reported a 1.2 times as often as men. But when men do it, they actually do it. You also have I just lost my notes here. Women are 58% of women are the 58% of women have actually went to go get help, mental help, whereas only 35% of men have actually also went to go get help. So there's a big gap there. Like all of these numbers are big gaps. Like it's fucked. It is absolutely fucked. But I feel like it's getting better. I feel like it's getting better, but it's also looking worse at the same time. Mainly because the internet, you know, anyone can say anything, you can see anything at any given time.
Oh, the internet's fucking horrible.
Dude,
It's horrible.
Social media.
Yes, that's the number one thing. And I joke about this with like Mitch a lot, but like I joke and then we're like semi-serious. Like, in all honesty, like the world truly does not give a fuck about your problems. Like it really doesn't. Like you could be having the worst day ever, and me and Mitch are just like, well, still got no fucking choice. We got to go to work. To go back to Mitch's saying, like, we don't go to work.
Yeah.
We can't put a roof over it. The world truly does not give a shit, and the world doesn't have to give a shit. But like to what Mitch said earlier, and to what Byron said earlier about that's why having a core friend group, I think, is the most important thing. Because at least they
100.
should give a shit about what's going on in your life. And if your friend group and you're telling them, like, hey, man, I got this going on. I got divorced here, broke up here, fell here, yada, yada. And they don't give a shit, then you got to kick them the fuck out because they're not helping your mental health at all.
I 100% agree.
Yep. Right on the fucking head right there, bud. 100% right on the head.
And I know, like, Martin has said this a lot, like, especially during COVID, you kind of found out who, like, your true friends were. Because, like, everyone was going through something during COVID. There's, like, 4 or 5 years. Like, if you still have the same friend group you had during COVID, that's a real friend group.
Mm-hmm. Dude, what's that quote that Joey Diaz says? Like, you don't need a bunch of friends. You just need a group of like 3 motherfuckers. That's all you need at the end of the day. You need 3 motherfuckers that will be there if you call them and they'll just show up. Doesn't matter. That's all you need is 3 motherfuckers. No, core friend group, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. You need a core group, you know. And it's from once again, like I'm just speaking on behalf of me and my trials and my tribulations. Like, dude, it sometimes absolutely fucking sucks because like I don't want to have to call my friends and and feel like a burden. Which I know like all my friends have been like, nah, dude, you ain't a fucking burden at all. But like I don't want to fucking like I know I was like I didn't want to bother anyone with my bullshit. It's such like go back. It's such a fucking fine line on everything.
I think there's a balancing act. If we can talk about society, like in terms of like you yourself, if like you're experiencing like a depression, like you could always lean on friends, like in your friends or your friends, and they're going to help you through it. There is this I don't want to say a responsibility for the person who is actually going through tough times, that one, they need to identify that, swallow that little bit of pride, and then seek help. Because like Jacob, like if you were going through hard times, I'm always going to be here for you to tell me about those hard times so that we can talk about it, work it, and then, and whatnot. But then, like, what are you or I doing to move like your life in a positive direction? Because then it's like a journey, like a story that like I want to hear then, oh yeah, I just went through a divorce, but now I just went on this great date with this chick. We had a great time, and like, there's just this little, hey, I'm here as like this little trampoline to help you bounce back up, but I want to know the rest of your journey because we're in this together. So, that's just another part of this whole mental health, is that if you're experiencing it, you also just need to kind of you know, get this attitude of, I'm going to kick this thing in its ass. And I want to be happy, cheerful, on a successful path, because then I can tell my story. So it's just, if all you're going to do is just kind of be down on your luck for like a super long time, that's definitely not healthy for you. So, and then that's just where that pivot needs to be made. So,
I would also say too for men thing too, Jacob. I feel like that's a lot of men's perspective that like they don't want to feel like a bother to anyone. But I would say now, like we're all literally on this thing. We're all in our 30s and we're all getting older. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'd rather get the call from you saying that you want to bitch or complain or something that's going on that you want to talk to me about it than getting the different call saying, "Hey, do you want to be a pallbearer at Jacob's wedding?" I mean,
right,
Jacob's
Exactly.
funeral. Like
right.
I would take the call any night if you
100.
wanted to talk about then getting that call about like, "Hey, you're dead. We need to make arrangements." Any day, and I
Yeah,
think men need to realize that.
I seen I seen someone, I forget who I've seen post this whatever a long time ago. It was them saying like, hey, like you're not a burden on your friends, but you would absolutely disrespect all of your friends if you did not reach out at all. Like at the end of the day, that's a slap in the face. Like you said, getting the call to be a pallbearer, than being there to be a shoulder to cry on type deal thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and to like what Mitch was just saying, which goes back to what Byron was saying. Um, yeah, there's a time to be sad, and there's a time to mope. I get it. I completely get it, but you also have to be that strong guy who's going to fucking put his work boots on and go like, all right, all right, we're going to fucking figure this out. We're going to kick this in the ass. Like you got to quote unquote man the fuck up sometimes.
I think
And
the
it's hard.
term, I think that term manning the fuck up just needs to have just a different definition of what it used to mean, where it used to mean just go to work, suck it up. We all go through this pain together. Like, just get over it. Like, that's what it used to mean. What it should mean now is, I'm going to talk to my friends. I'm going to get therapy. I'm going to try to improve myself. However, that's what that term should mean now. In 2026, whereas in 1926, you know, it would have meant, you know, almost like a death sentence per se. But
100. I get what you're saying. Absolutely.
I think that's the thing with like mental. I think when we talk about mental health, we also got to talk about like we just said, Mitch, like mental strength. Like it's not strong to not like do what you just said or to like give up and anything like that. It's like if you have that mental strength of like I can get through this. I got friends who are there to help me. I'm seeing my therapist, like you guys already said. Like I also think like hey, if you're mentally strong as well, that could help like overall your health because we know there's some people in our generations and younger who if they step on a toothpick they're crying and want to take 6 weeks off work. It's just the honest truth
no,
and it's
that's
like
hard. Like not the toothpick part, but like that's hard to try to build up like your mental strength because like that's essentially like in a way working out.
Mhm.
Like you go to the gym to get stronger on all other cores of your body, and your brain is a muscle
Mhm.
that has just a really different functionality compared to all the other ones. But when you go through tough times, you make a plan and you attack it, and then you come out of that dealing with that adversity. That is like an emotional exercise on your brain, and then that makes you stronger than what you were. That is no different than, oh, I am not in shape. I'm overweight. I wish I could run a 2 mile without like croaking over. And then you decide I'm going to get a Planet Fitness membership, and then you reach that goal, and then before you know it, you're doing 5Ks like every weekend. It's just you just have to have you just got to get that mindset of I'm going to tackle this. This is I will make this a chapter of my life, but this will not be the final chapter of my life.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I also
Um,
think helping build up that mental strength helps a lot by just doing things that take you out of the stressful situations, like playing video games for like an hour a day, or reading your favorite book, or going to see a movie. Just like getting away from all that stress for even a 30 minutes or hour a day will help build that mental strength up that you can, tackle it when you get back to that stressful situation.
something that really helped me out was realizing that, like, okay, I've hit rock bottom. Like I've hit it, and it's like, oh, okay, I've hit rock bottom. I'm still alive. All right, sweet. So we just rebuild this foundation. Like once you hit rock bottom, it's like, oh, okay, fuck it. All right, nothing but up from here. Like that I always like joked around about, but I'm like, yeah, fuck it. It actually kind of works.
Yeah.
So like, what? Yeah, Byron kind of started on this one. Like, what is something that you guys think that men can do to help them through this journey, or stuff that uh just stuff to help them out along the way. Give me, Martin, I'm going to start with you since Byron kind of started already, but like what stuff that you think, like, as we end up wrapping this podcast up here?
I think, which is unfortunate because we just talked about how social media ruins us all, but I think the biggest thing that men can do is the men in powerful places actually talking about it. Because again, young boys and stuff idolize athletes and things of that nature. So we've had a lot of athletes like step up and talk about mental health and open different foundations, from like DeMar DeRozan in the NBA to like Brandon Marshall, things like that. But then on the flip side, so this perfect thing for Byron, people like saying the shit like Dana White saying how that also is a negative impact on the mental health, because if you got like a 14-year-old who wants to be in the UFC and they're seeing the boss talk about he doesn't believe in mental health, that kid's probably not going to talk about mental health anymore because he wants to be in the UFC.
Which I think is hilarious because Sean Strickland, who just won the championship, is he's such a double-edged sword. I think that's why I like him, because he's just dark humor all the time. He talks about like all his shit growing up and like his mental battles and everything. And it's so funny. You see Dana White talking about it from that perspective, but then you see Sean Strickland, of all fucking people, saying basically the opposite.
Yeah, so I just think the men in power just gotta say, like, if they're positively like talking about it and like saying like go get help, things of that just goes a long way, because men are very impressionable, especially teenagers.
Yes, and just to piggyback off of Martin, if you're in a, like you said, if you're in a powerful position, you can't downplay mental health, because that's why we have our suicide rates at 80% among men, because people like Dana White are like, oh, you shouldn't talk about mental health. You just gotta be strong and get through it. Like, no.
And then you know who
You
was
have to.
giggling with them? A fucking girl. Sorry, ladies.
That's true.
She was like, yeah, that's so unmanly. I would never want a man like that.
Again, that double-edged sword, like, oh, you want me to talk about my mental health, but when I talk about it, you don't want me to talk about it. It's hard to weave through the mental health atmosphere if people are saying, hey, don't talk about mental health, especially women. If you're interested in women and you want to date women, they're like, oh no, don't talk about mental health, but go ahead, talk about mental health. It's just like hard to navigate through that. But I think just starting that dialogue, like podcasts like this, and say, hey, mental health is important. If you need to talk about it, go talk about it. Do something to boost your mental health by going on walks, doing something you love doing, talking to family, friends. Just that opening that dialogue, I think, will go a long way in the end.
Agreed. Cedric, what do you got for us, big dog?
I mean, kind of piggybacking off Byron, I think us as men, another thing is checking in on our friends. I think a lot of that is it's really hard sometimes with the hustle and bustle of life to kind of like keep up to date about like not only your own mental health but also the mental health of your friends or people that you hold dear to yourself. And so a lot of times people smile a lot and laugh a lot, but there's a lot of things going on behind it. So I feel like we as a community, we as a society, we especially as men can, if something feels off, just like a soft check and like, hey, like, I know you seem like cool, but like something, I don't know what it is, but something feels that just know that you got a friend in me that you can always come and talk to me about whatever it is. Keep that open door, open arm mentality. Like this isn't a place where you have to kind of like walk with that chip on your shoulder or like kind of shove it down and swallow the fucking pain that you're dealing with. That you have people who are willing to listen to you, willing to hear you out whenever you need it. And I think that's for me that's how I build like comfortability with talking to people, because like a lot of times people don't, you don't want to trust certain people with certain things, because like you guys said earlier, you don't want to burden them. And so when a person's like, hey man, like, you can tell me anything, like you talk to me about anything, it's like at least you sometimes remember that. And I feel like as men, we sometimes forget to checking in on our people to make sure they're still doing all right.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Something, kind of hit up on what you said, like checking in on your people or whatnot. I think something that helps out, text someone in the morning, text your mom, your dad, your buddy, be like, hey, hope's all good. Have a good day. Just something along those lines. Like, dude, sometimes that little shit just means the world. Like, and I think that's especially with men. Like, we all joke around about like, oh, the lunch lady called me sugar one day, and like I've never forgot it, and I still feel warm and special about it. Like shit like that. Yeah, like little shit. Dudes remember that shit. Mitch, what do you got?
Fuck Dana White. I wanted to say that loud and clear. Fuck him. But anyways,
Point taken.
Wait, fuck who?
Dana White.
Dana White, dog. He didn't stutter.
Yeah.
I just heard fuck White, and I'm like,
Yeah, fuck
him.
him.
You're the only Caucasians on here right now. What did we do?
Yeah, fuck him. Like the dude runs one of like that is the injury where I feel, or industry where I think mental health is probably the most overlooked. Like aside from maybe like, I don't know, football, hockey, like one of the physical contact sports where there's also like CTE and all that stuff, but that's a whole nother topic. But like eh, fuck him. Anyways, I have to get that out there. Make that a short. Do me a favor, Martin. Make that a short and tag him in it. Fuck him. So anyways, sorry.
Will do.
What was the original question? I could have been brewing on that. I'm just cooking.
The question was, what is something you think men should do, something little, something that men should do to help with their mental health, or if they're in the process, what's something that you think men should do?
So whenever it comes to just you yourself, like not friends or anything like that, um, I think it's best to self-reflect often. Like even before things get, way too like out of control and overwhelm you. Just take a seat and just think about, okay, where is my life right now? Where will it be in the future? Where do I want it to be? And then just, plan accordingly for what you want, and try to, you know, set yourself up for success. And whenever it comes to what you can do with like, your friends or your contacts, um, just, you got to find a way just to be, you know, in communication with your brothers. You know what I mean? So like, do Jacob and I talk about what's going on in life? More recently, I would say, like we do. But even before that, um, him and I just share funny things that we find on social media, and that's our kind of our level of communication. It's, well, I don't tell him good morning or whatnot, but You know,
Oh, I've noticed.
if
Real
I
dick
go a
move
week,
there, pal.
if I go a week without like seeing Jacob send me something funny, then I probably need to be reaching out. You know what I mean? And
Which shout out you have done. You have done that like a couple times. You're like, hey, is everything good?
well, I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you. If we can be a little vulnerable here, if we want to use that term, um, I think there was a part when you were going through your stuff where I didn't recognize that. And then once I learned all the stuff in which you were going through, I actually felt a little guilty about it because I didn't think that I was there. So that's also a thing is that I didn't recognize it just because like I was just going with the flow like of things. But once you learn those things, then you can just identify them a little bit more. So, but
Yeah, but to be fair, like even me going through that stuff, like I didn't realize I was going through the shit. Like I
right.
couldn't see the forest through the trees either type deal. And then once I realized, like, oh fuck.
No, yeah, it's there's there's like this curtain that goes over, or maybe I don't want to say ignorance is bliss. That's not what I'm trying to convey. I just can't think of the words. But there's a cover over your eyes whenever everything is going, you know, seemingly the way it should be. So you just got to keep your eyes open better and identify those clues per se.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, just knowing that, and then the last thing then for people is just knowing that there's always a way out. You just need to be able to ask the questions. How do I help myself? Who can I talk to? Like, does my insurance cover this? Stuff like that. So it literally like
Yeah. Yeah, for real. You have to call your insurance and go like, hey, like, what exactly do you fuckers cover?
yeah.
And then figure it out from there.
Yeah, can I actually use this premium that I pay every month to you if it actually help me out here? Oh, no?
Yeah.
Fuck off, Anthem.
Yes.
Anyways,
Yep. 100%.
yeah.
Absolutely.
A blue shield? Yeah. A shield of what? Fucking trash.
For me, something, and I know some people are going to, roll their eyes at this, and that's fine. I have no problem with it. I still have to throw it out just for my piece. Something that massively helped me out was religion and finding God. That helped me out tremendously. Like my pastor helped me out during all my shit, just people in general, just my church was so friendly. It was just so welcoming about everything. And that's something like I'll never forget and I'll never be able to pay back type deal. So that was really big for me. Now I also want to say this because we're going to be wrapping up here. If you are going through the shit, where's it at here? Yeah, if you're going through the shit and you are genuinely like, hey, I just want to off myself. 988 is the suicide and crisis lifeline. Call them, text them, just talk to someone. Talk to someone, even if you feel like you have no one. Like tomorrow's another day. The sun will come up, and sometimes you got to take it one day at a time. And sometimes one day at a time is not enough, and you have to go like, let's just try and make it half a day. Let's just try and make it an hour. Let's just try and make it a half hour. Break it down into simple things. Like just try and chuck on through it. It's worth it in the end, I promise. But with that all being said, Martin, Byron, Cedric, Mitch, thank you guys all so much for being on this podcast. I'm so happy that we were able to talk about this. Yeah, thank you guys enough. Pleasure having you all on. Martin, I'll let you sign off here. Do whatever you want to do so I don't fuck it up.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the L7C podcast. As Jacob thanked us, we want to thank Jacob for having the courage to ask us to be on and to talk about this on the podcast, one of our more serious podcasts. So, again, Jacob, thanks for organizing this, and you did a great job leading it and whatnot. Jacob gave you the suicide number in the comments All of the stats Jacob had will be in there and the questions that we answered, plus with the suicide number. That'll all be in the description box and the comments when you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching this on Spotify video. With that being said, L7C Podcast, signing out.